Here it is, the LG G6, one of the more recent phones to move to the 2:1 aspect ratio. I know though many people are going to be quick to remind me that this is no S8 killer, and yes, that screen is stunning. But this phone does have a great screen in its own right, even if it doesn't quite match up to the S8's one. So there you go, now you don't have to remind me in the comments. Its camera system is very different to the S8 though. The mouthless face on the back is made up of two cameras. One has a wide angle lens that most of the phones, yes, even the S8, doesn't have. This will let you take photos like this, where you'd usually only get something like this from the same distance, on the normal non-wide angle lens that sits alongside it. It was actually great to use on our trip to York. The front facing camera also has a wide angle lens, which I don't really like too much because it made my hair look a bit weird, but there is still the option to get a normal image within the camera app. And by the way, the camera app is great. It's super easy to switch between the two lenses at the back or between the back and the front cameras. Modes are easily accessible at the top, with some unique modes like pop out, where you can take pictures with a sort of picture-in-picture look, with different effects like having the background be black and white and stuff. There's snap, which lets you take multiple videos and string them together, kind of like pretty much any other modern phone can do with pausing and playing. Don't really know the difference there. There's 360 panorama, which lets you take 360 video in the style of panoramas that you can view on your phone. The final result actually looks pretty great. Camera quality itself though is great. Video recording is nice and stable, which is great, and while you're recording you can zoom in and out, with it going between the different cameras to increase the range. Going back to things that disappointed me though, one is the fact that you can't do gestures on the back fingerprint sensor. I really would have liked to have been able to use it to swipe down the notification center like I could do on the Huawei P9. It really wouldn't have been that hard to include. The sensor itself is great though, it's really reliable and works pretty much every time. Its speed is pretty average, but it's definitely not slow at unlocking your phone. And it's also in the best position in the middle, not right next to your camera. Samsung. Something that's unusual though is the fact that there's no notification LED. This actually isn't an issue though because of just how good the always on display is. It shows you your battery life, and when a new notification comes in, it shows it in a big enough icon of the app so you know exactly what's came in and you don't need the LED color to indicate that. It's actually really great, and I kid you not, I didn't actually notice for a few days that this phone didn't actually have an LED notification light. And it just kind of clicked after those few days because that screen is that good that I wasn't really looking out for it. Unlocking the lock screen also has a pretty weird animation, which you can change to other weird animations, but overall that doesn't really matter because the only way you're going to be seeing that screen is if you double tap to wake the phone, because the power button is the fingerprint sensor, which just unlocks your phone straight away. Oh, and by the way, you can double tap the status bar to lock your phone too. Something that I got used to not being able to do, so I never really did do this on the phone. There's also this pretty nice but useless feature of the lock screen raining when it's raining outside. It's not super accurate though at knowing when it's raining outside, but that doesn't really matter as much as say them still including a headphone jack, while others are convinced that we don't need one. To further their stance that phones should in fact have headphone jacks, LG have included some earphones with their phone. Now they are pretty mediocre, highs sound pretty bad in my opinion, and the sound, well, it's just mediocre. Kind of like its controls, it sits in the middle of not having any and having some, with it disappointingly only having a play pause button. It does have a pretty nice braided cable though that feels pretty durable. For some reason though, it doesn't extend all the way to the top of the earphones, with the top part being plastic. Anyway though, moving back to the phone, let's talk software. So starting off with the launcher, it's got the iOS style no app drawers, chuck everything on the home screen style of handling things. But yes, you can actually enable the app drawer within settings. I didn't actually know this until I'd already given the phone back though. It is a shame because I would have used that launcher because it did have some pretty nice features, such as a great search that also lets you search within apps, and a feature called App Trash that lets you put the app in a trash and lets you restore it within 24 hours if you change your mind. But anyway, talking about apps, moving into apps, the phone does allow different levels of app scaling that will let you scale your app to take up the full 2:1 screen or use the standard 16:9 ratio or the in-between resolution of 16.7:9. You can also get to it from the settings app too. And by the way, the nav bar itself can also be modified from the settings app. For example, you can also add in a notification center button to bring it down, which is very handy. The settings app itself is actually arranged pretty nicely with different tabs along the top, with it being pretty easy to find everything you want to look for. But if you don't like it, you can switch to the list view instead, as you'd get in stock Android. The keyboard is pretty different from usual stock keyboards though. Within settings you can enable swiping, autocorrect is disabled by default for some reason, and it has this pretty nice but kind of temperamental feature that lets you swipe up to input a suggested word. It's temperamental though because sometimes when I try to do it, I just ended up pressing a key instead. It also doesn't suggest a word immediately afterwards, which is pretty annoying. It most definitely isn't as good as Swift keyboard, but it's definitely one of the better stock keyboards that I've seen out there. Also props to them for including a numbers row at the top. So overall I'm impressed with the UI, it looks pretty nice and does a good job of adding its own features while not taking away the already good features that Android has to offer. Well, other than one thing, altering my Bluetooth headphones volume does not change the phone's volume, which is a bit annoying. But I do feel like that is nitpicking a bit because overall my experience with this phone has been really positive and I've really enjoyed it. From its gorgeous screen to its great software, I've really enjoyed using all of it. If I ever manage to get my hands on the SE, I'll be able to see if that phone's worth it over this phone. But I can definitely recommend this phone just for itself really. And yeah, it's definitely worth getting if you're looking for a new phone, or at least worth considering. But I can throw it off to you though, do you think the SE is worth it over this phone? Be sure to leave it down in the comments down below. But for now, that's it for this video. I hope you all have a great day, be sure to like it if you like it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.